welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Lipakshi, and let's begin with the headlines first. Nepal PM Pushp Kamal Dahal visits India to strengthen ties between two neighbours. Demonstrations in illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan over poor wheat quality. And Hindus in India take holy dip in river Ganges on Ganga Dashera. Let's begin the show with Nepal's Prime Minister Pushp Kamal Dahal's recent visit to India, which has given a fresh bloom to bilateral ties between the two neighbours. Dahal also met top leadership in New Delhi, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and several agreements were signed to strengthen bilateral trade and culture. We have a report.
Nepal Prime Minister Pushp Kamal Dahal arrived in India for his 4-day official visit with the aim of strengthening the age-old relationship between India and Nepal. This was Dahal's first foreign visit since he assumed office in December last year. He met his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi and held talks to bolster the partnership between the two nations. After holding delegation-level talks, both Prime Ministers unveiled the e-plaque for integrated checkposts in different cities connecting India and Nepal.
आज ट्रांजिट एग्रीमेंट संपन्न किया गया है। इसमें नेपाल के लोगों के लिए नए रेल रूट्स के साथ-साथ भारत के इनलैंड वाटरवेज की सुविधा का भी प्रावधान किया गया है। हमने नए रेल लिंक स्थापित कर फिजिकल कनेक्टिविटी को बढ़ाने का निर्णय लिया।
India and Nepal have also agreed to increase the quantum of export of power as an objective from Nepal to India to 10,000 megawatts within the next 10 years. Nepal, which has the potential to generate up to 42,000 megawatts of hydroelectric power, hopes to produce about 3,500 megawatts by next year against its domestic demand of 2,000 megawatts. Both the countries reaffirmed their dedication to cooperating in a number of other fields such as expanding trade and air routes. PM Dahal also urged the Indian Prime Minister to resolve the boundary issues through bilateral diplomatic mechanism. He reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to using India to help his own country thrive.
In our meeting today, we discussed the ways to further strengthen cooperation in diverse areas including trade, transit, investment, hydropower development, power trade, irrigation, agriculture, connectivity, including air entry routes, railways, bridge, transmission line, expansion of petroleum pipeline, construction of integrated checkposts, as well as cultural and people-to-people contact.
India and Nepal share similar cultures, which led Prime Minister Dahal to visit and pay obeisance at Sri Mahakaleshwar Temple in Ujjain city of Madhya Pradesh. The relations between India and Nepal are getting stronger, with India investing billions of dollars in the Himalayan nation to build infrastructures including hydropower plants. India continues to be Nepal's biggest trading partner, donor and the supplier of the bulk of consumer products nevertheless.
Well, protests and demonstrations against the government are not an unusual sight in illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan. People are constantly criticizing the government to look into the issues, but to no avail. Residents of illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan recently held a demonstration for poor wheat quality and load shedding, which has been a major source of concern for them. Take a look.
A large number of locals took to the roads in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan against government's negligent attitude and failure to provide food security to the people. Already boiled over the subsidy cut on wheat, locals are now simmering with anger as the limited supply is being sold as bran and at high costs, making it impossible for those in need to acquire it. Moreover, the wheat that is available is of extremely poor quality.
यहाँ के अवाम को मजीद इससे ज्यादा इम्तिहान में न डाला जाए, मजीद इनके हौसलों से खेल न खेला जाए। हम सब इंशाअल्लाह मिलकर इन इलाकों के अंदर चाहे पानी का मसला हो, चाहे बिजली का मसला हो, चाहे जमीनों का मसला हो, चाहे गंदुम का मसला हो, हम ये भी कहना चाहेंगे वफाक से कि आप लोग हमें चंद बोरी गंदुम दे के हम पे कोई एहसान नहीं कर रहे हैं, इसलिए चोकर हमें खिलाना बंद कर दो। हम चोकर खाने के मजीद, और वो चोकर भी महंगा हो रहा है और वो भी गरीब के दस्तरस से बाहर है। आज हम यहाँ से ये मुतालबा करेंगे, ये चोकर बंद करके आवाम को गंदुम दी जाए।
People say whenever the central government comes up with any policy or scheme, it never keeps the people of Gilgit-Baltistan in consideration. Hence, they either remain completely deprived of the benefits or are left with just residue to manage. Numerous protests and demonstrations against poor wheat quality and subsidy cuts have taken place in the past, but the residents and their hardships have received little attention from the authorities. Wheat is the key component of the people's food basket in illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan, and depriving them of this staple can have catastrophic consequences.
नहीं भाई, चोकर बहुत महंगा है, चोकर नहीं खिलाया जा रहा है। हमें वो हमारी इस पे हमारे यहाँ मिल्स की गलती भी नहीं है। यहाँ हमारी लोकल गवर्नमेंट इस वक्त जो मौजूद है, यहाँ पे इवन हमारी मिनिस्टर्स, जो फूड मिनिस्टर जो इस वक्त इसके आटे की तरसील में जो इनका बहुत अहम रोल होता है, वो हमें वो आटा वहाँ से क्यों ऐसा आटा दिया जाता है जो हमारी मिल्स में जब पिस के हमारे पास आता है तो बिल्कुल ब्लैक, जो खाने के काबिल नहीं होता है, जो अपने माल मवेशियों को तक आप नहीं खिला सकते। ये आटे की तरसील जो जहाँ से हो रही है, जहाँ से इसका सप्लाई पॉइंट है, उस हवाले से हमने कभी डिस्कशन नहीं की। हमें ये कहा जा रहा है कि हमें चोकर खिलाया जा रहा है, चोकर खिलाया जा रहा है, पैसे हमारे पूरे लिए जा रहे हैं। सब्सिडी की रकम में जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान उनको दे रही है वो पूरी दे रही है। कहाँ जा रहा है ये पैसा?
Having reached saturation point, the people of illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan have started demonstrating intensively against the corrupt practices of the government. However, Pakistan, on the contrary, has ensured that people in this illegally occupied region continue to rule under its misrule that aims to keep the region underdeveloped while benefiting from its rich resources.
And now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in our segment called Asia Watch.
Amin Salah used to grow wheat near the banks of Iraq's Euphrates River, but persistent droughts have led him to switch to farming unlikely new grounds deep in the harsh desert of Najaf. Watered by sprinklers fitted to wells dug more than 100 meters under the sun-bleached earth, his land now produces double what it did compared to when he relied on ancient methods that flood fields with river water, he said. Iraq's government says this officially supported shift has allowed the country to double areas cultivated with wheat this year to some 8.5 million dunams, compared to roughly 4 million last year. Agriculture Ministry spokesperson Mohammad Aykuzai said that has translated into a harvest of around 4 million tons of wheat, the largest in years and 80% of the needs of a country with a 43 million population who eat bread at almost every meal. The shift in methods is driven by necessity. Iraq's two main rivers, along which civilization emerged thousands of years ago, have lost more than half of their flow due to reduced rainfall, overuse and upstream dams. Drilling the desert for water could provide immediate relief in a country that the United Nations says is among the 5 nations most vulnerable to climate change in the world, and where climate-induced migration has already begun. Hong Kong locals race to collect traditional desserts from a tower as the annual Sheng Shao Bun Festival returned to full scale for the first time since 2019. At the stroke of midnight, the 12 brave participants scrambled up a 60-foot tower made of buns. The person who successfully retrieved the bun at the top of the structure would bring back luck to their family. Tens of thousands of Hong Kong residents and tourists flocked to the tiny island of Cheung Chau to witness a floating colours parade. The parade featured floating children dressed up as gods and goddesses, and they were accompanied by traditional music and lion dancing as they marched through the island's streets. Two Palestinian women are breathing life into Hebron's old city, where in recent years almost 2,000 shops have closed their doors, according to the city's Palestinian Rehabilitation Committee. Lubna Abu Turki and Abir Oseli are the proud owners of a soap shop and a library, and aspire to be role models for other women to enhance presence in the once buzzing old city, which is registered on the UNESCO World Heritage List. The old city became somewhat deserted in recent years by many Palestinian residents and shop owners after hardline Jewish settlers moved in. Israeli military patrols and checkpoints were installed throughout. Israeli restrictions on movement and access dating back to the Palestinian uprising at the start of the decade have turned parts of H2 into a ghost town. Poverty has risen in a city that was traditionally referred to as the engine of the Palestinian economy. Hebron was split into areas of Palestinian and Israeli control by agreement in 1997. The Israeli-controlled H2 area includes the settlements and the tomb of the patriarchs.
Moving on, with the global warming significantly affecting mountain peaks, scores of climbers in Nepal called for action to protect them as they marked the platinum jubilee of the first ascent of the Mount Everest. Take a look.
Everest summiteers has called for action as rising temperatures have continued to threaten Nepal's mountaineering as the nation celebrates the platinum jubilee of the successful ascent of the world's tallest peak, Mount Everest. Hundreds of mountaineers, including Everest summiteers, gathered in Kathmandu and held an awareness rally walking through the streets of Kathmandu. They were later felicitated by the government for their feat of scaling the highest peak in the world.
यो भन्दा 70 वर्ष अगाडि अब हामी मोनी शेर्पा हो तेन्जिङ शेर्पाले यसरी हाम्रो नेपालको विश्वको उचाइ शिखर सगरमाथाको चुचुरोमा पुगेको दिन रहेछ भनेर मलाई चाहिँ धेरै खुसी र अनि यस्तो दिन चाहिँ सधैँ नै रमाइलो रहोस् भन्न चाहन्छु.
The Sherpa community of Nepal is mainly dependent on mountaineering and expeditions. They have been assigned to fix the ropes to the summit, which officially opens the summit window to climbing enthusiasts. Because they are stronger at high altitude, Sherpas are well suited for alpine-style expeditions in the Himalayas. Climbers mainly need them to carry the oxygen, the gear, and a safety measure on the summit path. They are highly recognized as elite mountaineers and experts in high-altitude adventures. On Monday, those awarded badges were mainly members of the Sherpa community, which includes Kamirita Sherpa, dubbed Everest Man, who has ascended the 8,848.86 meter peak of Mount Everest 28 times, the highest so far. As the Sherpas have been helping and setting records, there's a renewed call for protection of the Himalayas, which are the main source of income for cash-strapped Nepal as well as the backbone of mountaineers.
अहिले चाहिँ क्लाइमेट चेन्जको इस्युलाई चाहिँ राम्रोसँग देख्न सकिन्छ किनभने जुन चाहिँ वेदर जुन चाहिँ नर्मली समिटको विन्डो भनेको चाहिँ मेलाई नेपालको हिमालयहरू चाहिँ मेको एभरेजको कुरा गर्ने भने मेको 15 देखि 25 सम्म मेन समिट विन्डो हुन्छ भने कुनै समयमा एकदमै हिमपात बढी यो सिजनलाई हेर्ने भने लास्ट इयर हेर्ने भने काठमाडौँको वरिपरि नै हिमपात यसपालि भनेको लगभग अप्रिलको डिसेम्बरतिर पर्नुपर्ने हिउँहरू एकैचोटि गएर अप्रिलको मिडतिर बल्ल स्नोफल भयो यसले गर्दाखेरि यसपालिको सिजनमा क्लाइम्बिङ जुन चाहिँ होल माउन्टेनियरिङ क्लाइम्बिङको सिजनलाई नै इम्प्याक्ट पारिरहेको थियो भने हामीले देख्न सक्छौँ नेपालको विभिन्न ठाउँमा हिउँको ठुल्ठुला ढिक्काहरू भत्किएर आएको यो देख्दाखेरि एकदमै रमाइलो देखे तापनि यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ क्लाइम्बिङमा मात्रै नभएर यो चाहिँ होल प्राणीमा मान्छेहरूमाथि यो चाहिँ क्लाइमेट चेन्जको इस्यु चाहिँ मजाले नै बेस क्याम्प मुभमेन्ट ग्लासियर हिमशृङ्खलाहरू सुक्ने फुट्ने त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ मजाले देख्न सकिन्छ.
Nepal this year has seen a high influx of climbing aspirants as the Department of Tourism has issued permits to 478 fee-paying individuals, the highest permit issuance on record to climb Everest. Nepal earlier in 2021 had issued a record 409 permits which overcrowded the summit and were often blamed for the high fatalities that year. A year later, the number dropped to 325, taken as an impact of ongoing Russia-Ukraine war and recession that is coming for this year. Close to 7,000 mountaineers have climbed Everest from the Nepal side since Tenzing Norgay Sherpa and New Zealander Edmund Percival Hillary first set foot atop the world's highest peak in May 1953.
One of the most unique features of India is its rivers, and they also hold high religious significance among the people. They're considered as god and goddess in the country and are worshipped by Hindus. One among them is Ganga Dashera, which is one of the most popular and auspicious festivals in Hinduism. It is celebrated by devotees to mark the origin of sacred river Ganga. So this week we take you to the various Indian pilgrimage sites of India where devotees gathered at ghats of river Ganges to mark the festival of Ganga Dashera. Have a look.
Hindu devotees gathered at the ghats of river Ganga in various pilgrimage sites where devotees took a holy dip and offered prayers to celebrate the festival of Ganga Dashera that marks the descent of the holy river on earth. Regarded as a celestial river of Hindus, originating in the heavens, the legends hold that Ganga was gifted to mankind in response to the great penance undertaken by King Bhagirath, after whom she is called Bhagirathi. Bhagirath, a descendant of the legendary Sagar dynasty, prayed for Ganga to descend onto the parched earth and bring life. On the occasion, devotees performed rituals and prayed to mark the special occasion in northern Varanasi and Prayagraj cities.
बहुत ही ज़्यादा मज़ा आ रहा है जैसे कि आज गंगा जी का जन्म हुआ है और आज के दिन जैसे कि बहुत सारे लोग आए यहाँ पे बहुत सारे मतलब सबके दिल में ऐसी खुशी है जैसे कि मतलब हर साल एक नया हो.
आज के दिन गंगा स्नान करने से और खासकर गंगा पूजा करने से विशेष फल प्राप्त होता है. जो व्यक्ति गंगा स्नान करते हैं या और लोगों को गरीबों को दान देते हैं, ब्राह्मणों का सत्कार करते हैं, महापुरुषों को सत्कार करते हैं, अपने माता पिता की वंदना करते हैं, इस कार्य करने से घर के अंदर खुशहाली रहती है.
According to the Hindu mythology, goddess Ganga came down to the earth on Dashmi and freed Bhagirath's ancestors from a curse. It is believed that if one offers prayer on this day, one attains salvation from 10 sins. Every year, pilgrims from all over India take part in the festival and bath in the holy river in large numbers.
आज गंगा दशहरा है और ऐसे में माँ गंगा का सानिध्य और उनके दर्शन का, उनके स्नान का अगर काशी में सानिध्य मिल जाए तो इससे बड़ा पुण्य फल और कोई नहीं हो सकता इस जीवन में.
The Ganga is considered holy river and is worshipped by Hindus who make up about 80% of India's 1.3 billion people. They call it Ganga Mata or Mother Ganga and believe a dip in the river absolves a lifetime of sins. The festival Ganga Dashera reflects the variety of rich cultural traditions of India. And such festivals set off shared attitudes, values, goals and practices that symbolize the plurality of its Indian culture.
Well, it's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We'll be back next week at the same time. This is Lipakshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.